What's up, guys? Welcome to Blue Presents a podcast where I discuss all things music and how it affects my life. And today, I want to talk about a subject that I have been reading, everyone's take on for the last week and a half. And I'm talking about the tweets from Frankie from Amir, where he's basically, stating that he emotionally and spiritually rejects almost every lyric he's ever written. I'm going to talk about the original tweet that kind of started this whole thing and basically explain to you why I have a fucking problem with it. Okay. So I'm going to read this original tweet, and this is what kind of started the whole thing. And it says, hanging out with someone who only listens to metalcore made me realize why regular people with healthy neuroplasticity don't fuck with that genre of music and gravitates towards pop/rap music. Talk about a fucking unnecessary onslaught of bullshit emotions. Now, really quick, before I get started on what I want to say, I don't want to knock Frankie for renouncing his lyrics, because, let's face it, some of his lyrics are kind of, shitty and fucked up. And on top of that, I'm all for personal growth. But my problem is that basically he just labeled a group of people unable to change. Now, what do I mean by unable to change? Well, let's look at the definition of neuroplasticity. It is the ability of the brain to change continuously through an individual's life. Okay? Now, I think at some point, we all have to grow up. We all have to look at our past and admit some of the times that we have personally fucked up. Have personally done things we're not proud of, and that's okay, because we're human. We're not perfect, and we're all going to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? I'm about growing forward. I had to do the same myself in the last few years. I'm a family man. I'm married, raising kids with my wife, and, there's struggles there. You know what I'm saying? And I don't feel sad for it. I'm happy about where my life has gone. I'm happy about the situation that I'm in. I'm happy with the partner that I have in my life right now. But what I have a problem with is when you're trying to say you're trying to be a better version of you, and basically disrespecting a whole set of people who more than likely probably supported you, who probably looked at you and said, this is my guy. This guy says things how I feel. And while some of those people probably reacted in a way that's not healthy, some of us took that feeling and that understanding of where you were coming from, Frankie, and said, man, somebody feels like how I feel. Because, let's face it, in this world where it doesn't matter what your age is, people are dying, whether it's from diseases, whether it's from unnatural things, whether it's from other people. This is the world that we live in. And the music that we listen to is a reflection of either what we're going through or a reflection of some of the feelings that we may have. Now, some of us can grow on from that point. Some of us use the music to fuel our desire to want to be more a part of this music scene. Some of us use this to fuel our desire to want to create things out of being either upset or distraught about something in our lives. People handle things differently all the time. But what I don't get is why, when you say you're trying to grow as a person, you basically say people have the inability to change because they listen to a certain particular set of music. I don't agree with that. And I don't think that's a fair perspective to give everyone else because you're kind of figuring out what's going on with you. It's almost like you gave a middle finger to everybody and basically said, but I'm growing as a person. So while I'm telling you there's something wrong with you and you don't have the ability to change in your life, I'm growing as a person. That, for me, doesn't fucking work. I got into metalcore at a time where, things probably weren't the best for me. My home situation wasn't really great. My life situation probably wasn't that great either. But what metalcore did for me made me feel like I was a part of something. Before that, I was into hip hop and rap music. I was into hip hop and rap music because that's part of where I grew up. I grew up a poor Puerto Rican kid. Wore hand-me-down clothes. I once in a while got brand new sneakers from Payless. It is what it is, man. That was my life, man. You know? And I listened to that kind of music because it spoke to my surroundings and what was going on for me. Because someone else saw the fact that, yo, it's rough out there, man. People are dying every day. You know what I'm saying? But I never took it and was like, yo, let me hold on to these feelings. Let me not make myself able to change. But I still listen to that music because it reminds me of those times. It reminds me of where I've come from. It reminds me to where I am right now. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to bash his, thought process on trying to change as a person. And I mean, this is the same guy who gave you lyrics like, ask your girl what my dick tastes like. You know what I'm saying? No offense. I wasn't really listening to Amir for lyrical content, Though, that first album, I'm not even gonna lie, there were some songs on there that really spoke to me, and he had some amazing, metaphors and lines that he used, but I wouldn't say they spoke for me. I wouldn't say Frankie was changing my life here. You know what I'm saying? But I love the aggressive music. I love the sound. The sound was hard. It was heavy. It spoke to me, in a world where, I was still trying to figure things out, a 20-something-year-old kid who, was trying to make his life music, while trying to work, while trying to, still keep myself in, whatever situation I was, and yeah, I probably made some not so great decisions, probably, did some really stupid shit, but that's not a result of me listening to metalcore or me listening to other things. It was a result of me not being able to understand that I had to mature as a person, and that maturing as a person means that I need to accept the things wrong with me before someone can accept me being me. You know what I'm saying? And the big issue that I have with this is basically you are shunning people and telling people that they're not able to change enough to understand the complexities of other styles of music, which I think is kind of bullshit. I'm always of that mindset that it's always going to be different strokes for different folks. I'm not a huge fan of country music, but that's not for me. And it's not for me to tell other people who listen to country music that you can't change in your life. You can't be a different person because you listen to country music. That's a dumb fucking statement to say. I think that's really perplexing to me that you can say that and still not get it. And to me, that's saying you're not growing as a person. It means you're just trying to be fucking cool for whatever fucking reason, man. And there were some other tweets that he posted. Like I said, I'm not really focused on those other tweets. He did say some other positive things. He felt his portrayal in the media was, he didn't agree with or whatever the case is. But, there's been a lot of stories out for the last, few years, man. He beefs with Vince from the Acacia Strain or whatever they're made to believe, And while maybe some of that stuff isn't true, my grandmother always said, where there's smoke, there's fire. So there's a little bit of truth in there somewhere, I'm sure. You know what I'm saying? But once again, when you're growing as a person, you admit to yourself your own personal problems, and you don't shun a group of people who support you. And I don't know, man. I feel like people are missing that in lieu of all the other stuff that's said, because it, that thread kind of turned into this, Q&A kind of deal where people were talking to him about different things. I mean, someone even offered him some weed and he turned them down or whatever the case was, which that's cool and all, get off of substances, man. As long as I've been in metalcore, I've never been a part of getting into the whole drug thing. There are some scenes that aren't into drugs. There are some scenes that are into drugs. There's different people who try different things, man. I just recognized early on with myself that wasn't for me. That lifestyle wasn't about me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to knock anybody who was into that stuff. Everybody has something they're into. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the other thing too is once again, it's the whole, it gives me an elitist opinion that, or the feeling of an elitist opinion coming from someone, who has had years of, basically personal issues of his own, to basically come out and say, hey, you guys over there in the corner over there who've basically been supporting me. And, yeah, some people probably don't look look bright on Amir or whatever the case is because of Frankie or because of what they've read about Frankie or whatever the case is, or some people just don't like the music. But I'm not going to knock those people who do enjoy Amir. Hell, like I said, that first album to me was really good. And there's been a couple albums that weren't that great. There's been the last few albums that were amazing. But also at the same time, I don't think you get to knock people because they enjoy a particular style of music. Just because it's not what you agree with, or it's not agreeing with your agenda or how you feel about it, because you're growing, quote unquote, as a person, doesn't mean you get to knock people down. And that in itself is the fucking issue with some of what goes on in the music world. Instead of bringing each other together, we're knocking each other down because you listen to metalcore, you listen to deathcore, you listen to horrorcore, you listen to whatever core, metalcore, deathcore, metal, death metal, whatever it is. We got to knock you down because you don't agree with our viewpoint. And that to me is a bullshit statement. That's a shitty opinion on life, and it is not growing as a person. You're not growing as a person because what you're doing is you're knocking other people down and then turning around and saying, hey, I'm growing as a person. You're not. And to think that you are is lying to yourself. And once again, maybe you really need to step back and take a look at what you're doing. Because if you're feeling this way about your life, the problem isn't with the music. The problem's with you. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to get this off my chest, man. And I did this unedited, man. I really wanted to get into it. And like I said, man, hopefully going forward, man, he does what he needs to do. But I just think people were looking at this situation the wrong way and how it first came out. You know, some people may agree with me, some people may disagree with me, but it's all good. Anyways, guys, thanks for enjoying today's show. And you can get at me on Twitter at Podcast of Blue, or you can get at me on Facebook and Instagram on Blue Presents a Podcast. Hit me up if you're also interested in being a guest on my show. And until next time, guys, check you out later.